Hello, everyone. This is Shamvi from Designhill and your host for the day. I hope you and your families are keeping well and safe, taking all the precautions and taking care of your near and dear ones. Welcome again to yet another event by Designhill. And today we will be discussing the hottest topic of the season, how to measure social media success. This event is brought to you by Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike who can source high quality designs from professional designers through its print on demand marketplace called PrintShop by Designhill. You can also buy 50 plus unique products with thousands of artworks created by a world class community of independent artists. So, moving ahead, let me introduce you to our amazing panelists for today. We have with us Cheryl Brown. Cheryl is a director, head of digital selling executive branding program and gamification of digital selling at SAP. And her passion and fulfillment comes from helping others reach their goals. Digital media is changing constantly, and the challenge is keeping abreast of new and emerging technologies is what she loves the most about her career. Welcome, Cheryl. Would you like to say a quick hi to the audience?
Okay, how are you? Sorry about the technical difficulties. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'm amongst some of the greats, so I'm really here to learn. I will definitely share what I have, and I'm so excited and grateful to be amongst you all, and excited to share what I know about social media success and also hear what these guys have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for being here. Next up, we have Jessica. Jessica is a social media strategist known for her outspoken dedication to relationship marketing. Her personal mission is to inspire people to love more, give more, and be more through using authentic relationships every day. She founded Now Marketing Group in 2010 with only one laptop and a vision. Welcome, Jessica.
Hey, good morning or good evening, everyone. Good to be here amongst all of you and all of the guests here tuning in with us.
Very happy to have you around, Jessica. Next, we have Joey. Joey Cox. Joey was born in analog, raised in digital, and founded a career on internet. He was schooled in branding by Red Bull North America and Coca-Cola. Now he's building a community of pop marketers, talking with the thinkers and makers of popular culture in the Pop Marketing podcast to teach others how to tap into the world of digital marketing to supercharge their ideas and unlock creativity hidden within the media we love. Welcome, Joey.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's early in the morning here, so I'm gonna need a lot of those emojis I was seeing when Pharrell was going up. I'm gonna need some of those to energize. There it is. I'm gonna need it to energize. So awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Joey. Next, we have Sonia. Sonia is Duke University's Director of Social Media and Content Strategy. Her expertise spans over a decade of experience in social media, marketing, brand building, analytics, and cross-platform planning. Welcome, Sonia. Welcome on board. Very happy to have you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It is also early here, and I have already switched to water because I had my very strong coffee this morning already.
Welcome. And last but not the least here, Kenneth. Kenneth, very happy to have you on board. He's a keynote speaker, accomplished marketer, lead generation driver, and business growth consultant. He is passionate about leveraging data in omni-channel strategies and known for driving growth in digital marketing. Welcome, Kenneth. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you? Mahalo,
Very
everybody.
well.
Can you hear me okay? All right. Buenos dias, bonjour, bom dia. Excited to be here. Great panel.
Very happy to have every one of you here on board today for this panel discussion. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us here today. It's an honor to have you all here with us. Great. So before we begin the session, Guys, here's a big announcement. We are giving away certificates to all the attendees who will be sticking here till the end of the session. Also, you can take a screenshot of this event, post it on your Twitter accounts, use hashtag Designhill events, tag Designhill DH, and all our speakers whose Twitter handles will be in the chat section just in a while. One lucky winner will have a chance to win a PS gift card worth $50. Okay, so let's start our session. My first question goes to Kenneth. Please share tips for brands or small businesses to choose the right social media platform and how to go about making it the right choice.
So I think one, look at your audience and stop listening to everybody on the internet. So one of the things that I run into all the time, especially when I work with small businesses, is they are pushed to go a certain channel because they've heard that's the hot thing to do. Yet they don't look at their own audience. And especially for small businesses, which often are brick and mortar stores, you can simply take a look at the demographics coming into your store and realize they are a TikTok audience, or they're a Facebook audience, or somewhere in between. So I think it's really important to look at your audience, whatever size it is. And you don't have to have a list of 20,000 customers to build some sort of persona around it to understand, but that will also help drive a lot of the types of content you need to produce, because a lot of people certainly think that they just need to take a picture and post it somewhere like an Instagram, but that may not really reflect their audience. So look at that first. And then if you're doing any other form of marketing and advertising, whatever kind of content that you're producing, really do as best as you can to figure out a way to tie all those pieces together. Because if you look at it from a holistic strategy standpoint, your customers are not living solely on any one channel.
Yeah, it's actually right. Knowing where your audience is does matter. Joey, would you want to add down?
Yeah, audiences is definitely the first place to go, and the next is what do you want to get done? What's your goals? And I know those two things sound they sound so easy, but I don't run in. I commonly run into marketers and directors of marketing that don't have that focus yet of what are they trying to get accomplished. So is your consumer trying to get accomplished, and why are they at that channel? And then why are you at that channel? And what do you want? Do you want conversion? Do you want engagement? Do you want awareness? Like, what are you trying to go after? If you can get that, that's a good first place to start.
Yeah, right. Cheryl, would you like to add down?
I definitely wanted to chime in. This was one of my favorite questions, and I kind of looked at my questions before this, and they all boiled down to, again, the audience. But what we call it over at SAP is we call it digital listening or social listening, right? You have to go and find out what you want first. And then if you don't create a solid brand, people won't even want to engage with you, even when you find your audience. So find out what your audience is. And I think of each of these social media platforms as like a different age. Facebook, it's a little bit older, it's been around for a little while. TikTok is definitely younger, right? So find out what you want to do, like Joe and Kenneth said, and then listen to the audience for a long time before you start to engage them. Because if you can't talk their language the way they're talking over there, you're on the wrong social media platform.
Agreed. Sonia?
Yeah, I concur with everything that my esteemed colleagues have said. And I will add to that, you have to think about what assets you have available. So if you are in a business that doesn't have a lot of imagery, for example, maybe Instagram is not the best place. So not only do you have to think about your audience and what you want to get done, but you have to think about what you have available as well. And not even just assets like photos or pieces of content, but also the people power and the time.
Yeah, true. Jessica?
No, echo what everyone else has said. And I like what Joe and Kenneth started saying about like tying things together. So, I mean, first you have to think about what are you trying to have understood by your community and how can you align with others, that being your team? Because even if you aren't there, maybe as a brand, I know SAP is really great about this, of allowing their team to have kind of their own personal brand and do things that way. So having that culture built in, so no matter where people are showing up, that they're showing up with the same messaging that is still going to tie back through and lead back to the brand kind of overall conversation, as well as the community that you're building. Like Designhill, you do a great job of this, of bringing others in and tying in kind of the conversation, allowing your community to get to know all of us that you're bringing into this conversation. And then it's, you know, now introducing us to your trusted built-in community. So what is that overall messaging that you're trying to build and that overall understanding that you want people to know about your brand? I think the messaging is key first, and your overall culture, brand understanding. And then as Joe greatly said, what do you want to have at the end of the day? Since we're talking about social ROI, like what are we trying to measure? What are we trying to accomplish at the end of the day? And tying all the things together, like Kenneth said.
Yeah, true. So the key takeaways here are audience, knowing where your audience is, what are you posting through, what kind of conversations you're building there. Everything plays a major role in terms of making the right choice and which platform and how to go about it. So yeah, absolutely correct. Great. That actually makes me move on to my next question, which I would go with Sonia. Sonia, as a marketer, you know, every marketer want to identify the value of each conversion, each conversion on social media campaigns, which a brand does. So give us tips on how can one evaluate the behavior of eligible prospects.
Yeah, so it really depends on your marketing strategy, and everything you're doing on social media should roll from your marketing strategy. So for example, I work in higher ed, and that's way different than selling anything. So we're selling an experience, we're selling education, and that's a lot different than selling a phone or something like that. So for us, our marketing goals revolve around reputation, and they also revolve around awareness. So with those two things in mind, what we're tracking is going to be different than what somebody else might be tracking. So we're tracking engagements and clicks, but someone else with different marketing goals might be tracking something through a conversion funnel. So you really have to think about your marketing goals to figure out what things that you need to evaluate in your prospects.
Yeah, right. Kenneth, you want to add down?
Yeah, I like what she said too, and I was thinking about you really have to measure the tail to a sale. So the conversion time for a product, for example, is, you know, a week or less. The conversion time for a service, especially in higher ed, where we do a lot of this measurement as well, it's 6 months or longer that somebody's making a decision. So a lot of people get trapped with social, only thinking about how many likes and shares, a lot of the vanity metrics we think about. And although those can be important to measure as an overall picture, they may not measure in a timely fashion. They may be that it takes a lot of that over an extended period of time, depending on whatever the purchase is, whether it's, you know, some sort of complex purchase like you get in higher ed. A lot of those metrics may add up over time to figure out, but not getting so myopic that you look only at an individual post or even a series of posts. That becomes very limiting to how you may measure your success. But it is important to at least be able to tie those metrics back together as some sort of bigger picture and strategy.
Yeah, right. Cheryl, your point of view on this?
I was just thinking about what Sonia and Kenneth both said, but what I wanted to add that, and Kenneth talked about selling an experience. I feel like when you're talking in terms of conversion, products that are a luxury have to have an experience with them. You have to have some sort of opulent background or something that the customer can tangibly see that says, okay, I don't really need this thing, but I want it because in addition to it being a product, it has a experience with it. Something like bleach, you can take a picture of bleach if you sell bleach and put it up, and we all need that, so we don't need the experience with it. Bleach is a trusted partner, especially in this climate that we're dealing with today. So you do have to measure, what they're talking about and speak the language that they're speaking, right? If you can't follow your prospects and customers, be able to engage with them, speaking the language that they speak, and talk about the things that they need, offer a solution for the challenges that they have, you won't have any success.
Yeah, true. Joey, what's your take on this? As a pop marketer, how would you evaluate the behavior of eligible prospects?
If I break it down to the most simple from my brain, it's always, am I looking for short term or long term? And am I finding the right cocktail, right? As a marketer between both, knowing that I do have short-term goals and I may need to convert depending on if I have a service or a product that I'm selling directly to the consumer. But it's always knowing where I'm at and always knowing what I'm trying to get them to do and what I would love to take them or where I'd like to take them. I love what Kenneth is saying. I can't agree enough is, where is it connected? How are you connecting this to first party data, to other things that you have going on? And how is that showing you the bigger picture? And for me, that bigger picture is, hey, I have short-term goals to get my goals for the month or the quarter. But the brand's going to be living for quite a long time. So how do I know I'm going to be around for the next 5 years?
Yeah, Jessica, your views?
Oh, I echo what everyone has said, but I love what Sonia started out saying, and knowing your brand and knowing that, in different brands it's an experience, right, for her. But also I think for all brands, honestly, we are measuring experience or sentiment now, and that's where most of the social channels are moving, because more individuals are moving into the inbox to have these conversations about brands and making decisions based upon conversations that are having in the inbox that we as brands may not be invited to. So starting out in the conversation, we may only get the starting point, as Kenneth was saying, of that, what's happening and what people are feeling about our brands, what they're saying, how they're sharing information. So definitely tracking it, but really measuring the sentiment, because that's what's going to move the needle and let us get ahead of it, in order to be able to, participate, get invited into those conversations, and also make sure that we're monitoring kind of where that data is coming in from and how people are feeling about our brands overall. So I think all of us, no matter if it's a B2B, B2C, or whatever product you are in the people business. And it is all about measuring how people are feeling about your brand and really being in tune with that sentiment. That's how Google is now ranking, with the Google page experience now, and measuring brands. That's how more the social channels are moving with their algorithm. They're starting to remove the likes, so how we're measuring ROI overall is really shifting. And it's really about how we're getting people to participate in conversation, how they're getting us to, as brands, to get invited to that conversation in our teams, our community, our current customers, to be advocates for us overall.
I think, right. So when I started this question, Sonia said marketing strategy, knowing your marketing strategy, that's actually one of the key pointers for this question. To know your eligible prospects, to grab those eligible prospects, their behavior, we need to know our marketing strategy. And again, having conversations. Coming down to conversations will actually make one understand what exactly the behavior is. Great, amazing takeaway here. So all right, I hope everyone is enjoying the session here. Let's take a quick break and know what and look at what Designhill is all about.
Looking to get your boss to remember your name? Head to the world's #1 creative marketplace, Designhill.
When my company promoted me to head up our latest real estate development project, I was excited, then anxious, then petrified. How was I going to hire the team, get the designs completed, and design beautiful presentation materials on our lean budget while impressing my bosses, some of whom are still learning my name?
Good job, Mitch.
My name's Lawrence. That's why I went to Designhill and got the design help I needed that fit within my company's brand guidelines. The process was simple. Designhill's design contest ensured I'd get a ton of results I'd love. Start by picking a number of designs that inspire you. This one's good, and that one. This one speaks to me. Then share some information about the project. Lastly, pick a package that fits your budget. Do you just want a logo or do you want it all? Then, boom. I got more than 60 custom design options to choose from, as well as all the other graphic design assets I wanted. And it's all backed by Designhill's 100% money-back guarantee. If I don't find a design I like, I get my money back. You can't lose. Now I have what I need to make a splash at my meetings, with everything from business cards, pamphlets, posters, and more. It's real.
Let the world know it's real and build your brand with Designhill.
All right, so we're back again. So that was all about Designhill. And guys, we will be taking your questions during the session. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the questions tab, which is just beside the chat on your screen. And yes, coming back to the measuring of social media success, my next question goes to Joey. Joey, be social, don't just do social, right? So share some strategies that can allow brands to distribute messaging, gain visibility, and continue to keep in touch with their target audience.
Yeah, I love that. Be social, don't do social. And it just means that we, as marketers, can get really caught up in the things that we want to accomplish. We can get caught up with making a lot of content and just we've done it for 100 years of pushing stuff out, but not taking advantage of the one thing that social media gives us, which is feedback and community and conversation. So it really means don't forget that in all the things you have to do, how important it is and how much insight you can get from, as Cheryl had stated before, listening and really engaging with your audience, right? Making sure you're answering customer service as quickly as possible, and that you're giving the same kind of personality and that you are in your posts, and really utilizing the channels for what they're meant for.
Yeah, right. So Sonia, would you like to add, like I can see Sonia is engaging with the current live audience on the chat. It's actually the same thing. Yeah, please, Sonia, go ahead.
Yeah, I think at Duke, we tend to look for opportunities to create interactivity, because a lot of times when you're posting, it doesn't necessarily beg for interactivity if we're just posting a link or something like that. So we do a lot with live streaming, actually, and we make sure that there are opportunities for people to interact with that. One example of that is we've been doing media briefings for specifically for a media audience, but in the last year, we've started streaming those to YouTube, because a lot of times they're important to a general audience as well. And we invite the audience to then ask questions in YouTube, and we can pass those through to the experts who are actually speaking. So creating opportunities for interactivity is really important. And I will share a link to those media briefings.
True. Kenneth, would you want to add down?
I want to say that I violently disagree with everything everybody said, just because we are agreeing with each other. But one of the things I will say is that having worked for large brands that have done this well and ones that have not, is that we still, even at this mature stage that we're in with social, aren't really having enough conversations to agree with Joe's point. I look at Clubhouse in particular, and I think it was one of the reasons for such an epiphany for a lot of people with those brands and trying to figure out how do we pull brands into Clubhouse. It's because marketers are having a hard time figuring out how to have actual conversations with people, instead of just copy paste brand BS that nobody cares about. Customers want conversations. They may not agree with you all the time, and sometimes those conversations are tough if your experience sucks. However, people want to interact with you on social. They don't wake up every morning and say, gosh, what is my favorite brand going to tell me today about what their marketing push is, whether it's Duke, SAP, Coca-Cola, any of them. Unless you are one of the few devout fans of a brand, they don't want to hear your commercial, and they go there for a conversation of some sort.
Yeah, right. So actually that grabs me to my next question here. for the panelists. Now, what are some of the common parameters for a brand to indulge in evaluating when evaluating the success or failure of any social media campaign? I want to give this to Jessica.
Yeah, it starts with your goals. I mean, echoing just what Kenneth had just said and what everyone said so far. I mean, you do have to look at what your goals are, but then going back to what we were just talking about, social being social, right? Conversation, setting up your goals accordingly, because as social has been mentioned, that now the future of social is private. It is things like Clubhouse. It is things like, smaller, more niche communities where content is there and then it's gone. So how do you measure that when a lot of the dark social links that are coming into your channel, it's hard to measure unless you do have, tracking links on it, unless you do have sentiment analysis and some of these tools that not all the small brands have the budget to afford, right? And to track. So you have to lay out your goals at the very beginning, not just for sales though. I mean, a big part of social is not sales. It is, reducing churn. It is continuing to grow your culture. It is, team, where a lot of companies are struggling to hire right now. It's, maintaining your team, it's growing your team, it's really building this brand community overall in the sense of belonging. So you really have to look at your goals and say, how do you measure belonging, right? Like, how do you measure that? And what does that look like? And not get so hung up on the sales conversation that you really miss the point of, the nurturing of the community that already does love you and that's willing to advocate for you, that's willing to share your content on, and really put some of those parameters in place to track, nurture, not get so caught up in the numbers that you forget to participate in the conversation, and really just get back to the humanity of building this community overall, and look at what that looks like, what channels do that, what channels are best supportive of that as well.
Yeah, right. Cheryl, would you want to add down to this?
Yeah, I was chomping at the bit there. Oh my goodness. So I think because we're talking about definitely listening and engaging, but the first thing, and we over at SAP put everything into buckets. And I think the most important thing, besides listening on that digital platform, is a solid brand. It's so important. How can I do social if my audience doesn't know who I am? Like, the ideal situation is to aim to have a brand first. And I know, small business owners especially are so excited about everything. Oh my goodness, I want to get started. And maybe they don't have the budget to hire somebody to do it. But if they don't, they're going to have to spend some time and implement their own marketing strategy and work those tactics out. Because again, if people don't know who you are, they won't engage with you. I don't care how awesome your product looks. I don't care how great your experience is. So I think that maybe we should be giving the advice of marketing is branding yourself first, and then you brand your business. Show that you do something consistently every day and build up that level of trust first, and then start to engage with them and listen to what they're saying.
Again, that gets on to us as be social, don't just do social. Sonia, please, your views.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to agree with everybody. I'm not sure that I have anything super different to add. Just know your goals and measure based on that.
Great. So moving on to my next question, Jessica got this point of getting tools and cost-effective, tools which will help you optimize the campaigns. And if a brand is not very, doesn't have that kind of high budget, how to go about it. So can you suggest some cost-effective tools that can help businesses manage and optimize social media campaigns effectively? Jessica, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's several tools out there. I mean, you can start with the basics, Google, right? Analytics, though that's free, right? You can do several different things to help you measure.
Sorry, Jessica, you went on mute. We'd
Yeah,
love
sorry
to.
about that. Always happens once in one of these conversations, right? But no, I said you can start with the basics. If you don't have a big budget, you can start with, Google Analytics. They have some tools built in where not only can you set up UTM tracking, which is on your social posts and your campaigns, to where it has a specific URL tracking link, so you can see kind of where things are shared. Google has plenty of helpful videos if you're not sure how to do that. I'm a huge fan of, Agora Pulse, which kind of has things built in, and those UTM tracking kind of built in, and social listening, which is one of the most important parts, as we've all kind of started touching on here. When you're measuring the success, I always like to say outcare your competition, which is breaking down to, what was being shared, first capturing attention. How do you do that? So how are you measuring if you're capturing attention? Are you growing and people talking about your brand? How do you articulate your message, and is that being succinctly shared across channels? So measuring that, how you're growing repeat referral relationships and your overall experience. So tools like, Google, like I said, they have several free tools built in. So you can do Google Alerts, google.com/alerts, to see if your brand's being mentioned. You can use tools like Agora Pulse, which is nice, that has a lot of those tools built in for social listening, for one inbox, so you can measure not only the conversations and monitor the conversations, but you can participate across channels, so you can see who's kind of, following you on different channels, and what the sentiment is on each, and participate there. But I would say, see what's right for your business. There's small businesses participating here, there's larger companies participating here. The small businesses, start with where you are, kind of grow there, but just measure first, the overall conversations that are happening, not the likes, the conversations. And as you start monitoring that and using some tools to help you do so, then you can continue to invest. But it's about your technique. Don't get so caught up in the tools. So technique, not tools, when you first get started.
Yeah, right. Again, be social. Don't just do social there. So I think this quote is actually going on to my every question. Guys, we need to be talking. We need to converse. Kenneth, would you like to add to this some social media cost-effective tools?
Yeah, again, I want to violently disagree with everything Jessica just said. No. So if you have a little more of a budget, obviously look at Sprinkler, Spreadfast, Sprout, those, all the ones that start with S, just to really be honing in on listing. I think for anything, even if it's Google, and I do this with all businesses, you got to remember that Google gave the world the greatest analytics tool on the planet. However, it always tells a great story about them. So if you're doing any kind of advertising whatsoever, you've really got to understand how they work and really what often triggers whatever the reaction is. So Facebook, for example, now that we're doing a lot more advertising there, or you're getting people to convert just off some sort of post, you do at least have that direct link to measure. But a lot of times, for example, if you're doing, say, a TV ad, and you think about the way that a TV ad, the first thing I pick up to respond to it is my phone. However, that always shows that in Google's analytics that I need to spend more money on Google. So the point is not to divert away from different social tools. It's to think about how all of these set up a chain reaction, because so often we get into this, again, myopic place where we think this ad or this post or whatever it was triggered this exact reaction, which led to a sale. And they don't. Customers go through an extended journey for the most part. They probably did some search before. And if they convert on Google, great, I'm all for that. But understanding what the underlying trigger, oftentimes through your social campaigns in particular, because social has emerged greatly over the last year and a half, even on steroids from what it was before, where it's become a bigger piece of our search and discovery, if you will, in interacting with brands before we go to that point of sale.
Yeah, right. Joe, any views on this? Any views on Kenneth's thing?
Sure. I think all the tools that have been mentioned are great. Tools are awesome, but just remember they're not going to solve all your problems. It's going to take some good old-fashioned understanding of focus and understanding your goals, and really work on your side. A tool's not going to do that. It will support and it will amplify. One that hasn't been mentioned that is a lifesaver is Canva. I mean, I think Canva has ultimately allowed that poor community manager, that poor content manager to be able to create as much content and create in a quick way, and to be able to use attributes from, I don't know, Designhill, which is another great tool to have and to buddy up with that. So that's one, especially on the price point, that I think it should always be in your quiver.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. All right. I hope everyone is having fun at this amazing session, because I am for sure. This is one of my favorite topics, and I work as a community manager here at Designhill, and social media, tracking social media success is really, really important. So before we move forward, I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace, for organizing this event. Stay tuned, and we will be right back to hear more from our amazing panelists.
Claremax is a full-service video agency based around video production. We created a brand that fit our identity at the time, but as we've evolved as a company, we found that original brand didn't quite fit our aspirations anymore. Finding a partner to rebrand your entire company takes a lot of time and effort. Finding Designhill was an incredible lifeline. Designhill offers a money-back guarantee. If we don't like any of the designs, we get all of our money back. The stuff that we ended up with were well beyond what we had been seeing on other creative services platforms. After creating a simple design brief by answering some questions created by Designhill, we posted, and within a few days, we had over 250 entries. Designhill's platform made it easy to communicate with all the potential designers. Eventually, we picked a winner. In addition to a logo, our designer also created a letterhead, business cards, and banners for all of our social media platforms. With Designhill's help, we now have a brand that meets our aspirations. We're ready for the future and everything that it's here to bring.
All right, so we're back again, and let's continue with the session. My next question goes to Cheryl. Everyone knows that influencer marketing is blooming, and it's high on trend right now. Can you give us tips to build a perfect influencer marketing strategy for social media campaigns to fly high?
Absolutely. So I think I had a feeling you were going to ask me that question. So I would definitely say, overall, just finding an influencer that speaks to the audience that you want to engage with. And to dive a little deeper in there, so many things fall under that social listening category. I'm going to go right back to that. You have to go out, do the work, and find out what your audience needs, and find the influencer that would speak more greatly to those needs. Then the thing about their popularity, though, is what's their popularity life cycle? Are they going to be valid in 6 months? And it's essentially riding the coattails of somebody else's fame to use it for your marketing. So I'll take it back to branding. Influencer marketing is great. You can fly high. Again, the key to that, find the influencer that's going to talk to the audience that you want to engage with. Period. But in addition to that, you have to go back to your brand and build that strong brand where influencers are coming to you because they like your products and services. It doesn't always have to be the other way around, right? So if an influencer likes, let's just say, a perfume that you made, and they decide to, you decide to engage in influencer marketing, that's great. But are they going to be valid in 6 months? So you have to think about how popular they are. Do they speak to the audience that you want to speak to? And then again, engage. Influencer marketing can be expensive, though. Depends on what influencer you want to get. And a lot of times I've seen some small businesses make the mistake of engaging someone just because they were Instagram famous or Facebook famous and not really having some longevity in the game. And then once that person's career is dead, then the brand is dead. And you don't want your brand to be that way. That's why you have to build that strong brand first, and where the influencers are coming to you to engage with you. And that's ideally, right? That's going to be hard work, but it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely right. Sonia, anything to add to Cheryl?
Yeah. So for universities, influencers are students, and that's really, really important for us to get the word out from students and not just from the olds, as we say. So we have a whole Duke students suite of branded social media channels so that they're allowed to post in their own voice and the content that they choose to prospective students so that they can actually hear from students who are currently at Duke. So I think it's really important to get influencers that are doing the things that you want to happen, and influencers who are really invested. And we're lucky in that at Duke, we can find influencers who are really invested because we have lots and lots of great students. So find those influencers who are really invested in your brand and make sure that they're doing the things that you want them to do.
Yeah. Joe, your points.
Yeah, influencers is an amazing channel. Yeah, it can be expensive, and if you're just kind of starting out, I always love to go to the idea of ambassadors versus influencers. And the difference with ambassadors for me is skin in the game, right? Like, build a relationship, find people that are growing and hungry with you and that actually love your product. So many brands. I remember working with a brand called Wingstop here in the States, and they were looking for influencers. And I was like, well, you do have, Rick Ross, which, is an owner of like 8 locations. And it always, to me, works. They weren't even looking that way to the people that already love them. So the best influencers always start out as fans, and always be listening first to find out where your fans are and see who you can recruit from there.
Yeah, right. Jessica, you want to add something?
Oh, just amening what everyone has already said. But I look at influencers as well as like ambassadors, like Joey said, and what everyone said so far, and looking at those opportunities, because that's the most believable. Community is one thing that's not for sale, and while influencers can get you exposure, it doesn't always bring you that sale or that conversation or people really believing in your product. And so I always look at how can we change our followers to become those true fans, right? Like, that are going to advocate for us, because there are people that will advocate for you and be your evangelist, but they're not ever going to be a customer, right? Like, I host an event here, a social media conference, and there's several of the speakers and things that are advocating for us and talking about us, and they'll never be my customer, but they are an evangelist for the brand. And then the team members, and to the evangelists that work there, and your current customers, clients, students, as Sonia mentioned, the people that are already doing it, living it, breathing it every day, they're going to have that insider kind of passion and experience that they're going to want to share in their own voice, that is going to be trusted by their community. And then even your community into collaborators, like, look at opportunities of alignment of, you have the same shared audience, the same shared kind of passion and goal and tone, that you can join forces and serve your community better. That's going to, make you feel like a magnet versus a bullhorn in your approach of how you're showing up. So looking at those built-in opportunities of influencers or ambassadors of sorts, and then kind of expand from there, but always start, I say, from the inside out, right? Of how you're kind of looking at growing that before you need to spend some dollars on paying for things, because the most believable are the people that are already using your product and love it anyway, and you're just empowering them to share it more.
Yeah, right. Kenneth, anything to add to?
Yeah. So one of the things and I love when she just said the shared audience, is really understanding that. But one of the things I've noticed some of the smarter brands that I've worked with doing is, we got to such a place where we fell into influencer marketing because they did a much better job of telling the story than our brands often did. Now, a lot of the smarter brands are actually starting to listen to the influencers and learn from that. And I think a lot of times people think we're just going to look at this and move it over to the side. They're going to do their own thing. There's a lot of times that you can learn from the way the influencers, is commonality. If you pull in, say, 5 or 6 influencers, ambassadors, the way they tell the story may impact the way you need to tell your story. And I don't think enough brands really are listening to what the influencers are doing. The other thing is, I think for success with influencer campaigns, because it is expensive if it's not done correctly, is really understanding what your needs are for doing it. And how you're going to measure it is either going to be from a brand experience or a direct sale experience. And if it's direct advertising where you need somebody to go peddle a makeup brush, yes, you should measure every bit of it from here on out on how many you sell. And it looks like she's frozen. But if you're working with a service, for example, it's a much different journey or path for everybody. So, and I don't know if you can hear me because you look frozen. And if she is, I may have to lead the rest of the questions and make up some questions.
Yeah, do it. You know, it's great.
She is frozen. But I can hear everybody else.
Okay, well then I'll just to keep it going for the audience, I'll start off with the next one. So Joey, because I have to say it once, tell us what social media metrics should a brand be worried about? Should a brand be measuring all the social media platform metrics?
Yeah, there's a lot of metrics. You can try to keep up with all of them if you think that's going to help. But it is you just got to know where you're going and what you're wanting to accomplish, and then you have to attach the goals that mean something and are relevant to that spot there, no matter what kind of communication you're putting on social. So don't get caught up. You got to apply focus. There's a lot of things to measure, and it can be fun for some people's brains to put a lot of things in Excel documents, but unless it's getting to your goals, you really need to focus on the things. And we've said it 100 times, but what are you trying to go after, and what are the goals that really lead to that goal?
I'm just going in Clockwork Orange that I see. So Jessica, hey, welcome back. You're the next one we were going to ask.
Sorry.
The question. No.
Yeah, actually, the internet connection got just vanished from my system. So,
well, we're just talking about measurement. Joe just answered, and I was about to kick it over to Jessica.
Please go ahead. I think it's the metrics question, which I'll just repeat through. So, Joe, you have already answered this. So let me take this to Sonia. Tell us what social media metrics should a brand be worried about, and should a brand be measuring all the social media platform metrics?
Like Joe said, I mean, you can measure them all, but don't do that. Pick the ones that make the most impact for your business. So I mentioned, I think way back in the first question, that we're measuring mostly engagements and clicks, because those are the things that make the biggest impact for what we're doing. But your mileage may vary. So pick the things to measure that make the most impact for your business and focus on pulling those. There are a lot more analytics out there. You're not going to run out of things to measure, but just pick the ones that actually make a difference.
Yeah, right. So I will just push through the event really, really fast, because we are now bounded with time here. And my next question, I'll just push through my next question to Jessica. Jessica, how should a brand's social media integrate with other internet initiatives taken? How can a brand, how should a brand do it? Any tips on that?
I think social is going to integrate with everything a brand is doing, regardless whether you may want it to or not, because your community is already there that knows you. But definitely take that into consideration for everything that you're doing. I think, Kenneth really hit on this quite a few times on making sure things tie together. And if you are putting out a TV campaign that is now, we've seen this a lot even during the Super Bowl, where they're tying people back into, going online and performing some kind of action, that you're making sure that your socials ready for that. So I would just say making sure that you're ready for the conversation. And then when you get into bigger brands, making sure that everybody's on the same page, because sometimes I've seen this in larger companies that we work with, people are in silos and they don't often communicate together. So one team's kind of measuring this and doing this, and then the next team's maybe not prepared for kind of picking up and continuing that conversation. I would say that's kind of where you need to look at your campaign, if you want to call it. I hate campaigns because it's all, part of the overall brand, but you have to look at your initiatives overall and say, are we all in sync? Does it make sense? And do we have kind of the team in place that can continue the conversation from one thing to the next? And does it make sense? Does it have this kind of logical path that we are making sure that nobody feels isolated, but everybody feels included, and that we're ready to kind of continue that conversation, to continue building rapport, like true rapport, community and conversation with our community. And to everybody's points on measuring, you don't want to get so nitty gritty where you're measuring everything to see the success, but you do want to look at the story that it's telling and see, okay, we don't want to also be naive. What is this telling to us? Where do we need to focus, and where do we need to kind of step up our game a little bit?
Yeah, right. Kenneth, please.
Yeah, I love to jump in on this. I agree with everything she just said. Sadly, because we're all in agreement with each other's great points. But at the end of the day, it's marketing. It's the brand experience. It doesn't matter if it's social media. Social media, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, or all the channels together, it's still a channel, and it all ties back to your brand. Your customer experience, it's all part of that. Digital marketing, it's all part of marketing and the brand. At the end of the day, your customers don't care about whether or not you're in that silo or not. I've worked for large brands where I just felt like I was a silo knocker downer. That was where I spent most of my time, was trying to align everybody, because they don't care if you work for an award-winning agency. They don't care if you work for some award-winning brand. They care about fixing their problem. And at the end of the day, they don't care about the sausage making process. There are too many brands right now who get fixated with just the one thing they do on social that gets people excited. But for most businesses that aren't some non-complex, CPG type product, this is a cycle. So it needs to all string together, and all of the things that you do well together will help lift that. Social media is one part. It's a big part. It's a massive part where you get engagement. But again, it all fits a bigger picture.
Yeah, right. Moving on to my next question here. It's a little tricky one here. How do you think current web analytics and other digital performance reports interact with social media marketing analysis? Joe, would you like to take up this?
You know what? As a pop marketer, I for some reason just know. Kenneth has been talking about this throughout, of how important it is to integrate and to make sure that they're tied in, especially with cookies where they are currently. But I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna go towards anybody else that would love to answer this one.
Maybe Cheryl, would you like to take this question up?
I'll actually pass on this one as well. I don't really want to touch that. I'm going to leave this up to the experts.
That's on you, Kenneth. Would you please?
So most of the web analytics tools are absolutely horrible, because what they're having to do is they tell their channel well, or they tell how their channel complemented Google, which again, Google's not in the business to try to help make Facebook more money or anything like that. But we're in walled gardens, and these walled gardens keep getting taller, not shorter. Understanding how you can do the best you can, because again, a lot of this is just modeled data, but spending more time on understanding the customer journey on your own, taking the best analytics tools you have on your own and stitching that together. I mean, we have a patented attribution technology, and so we lean on that as much as we can. I will say that as many of the analytics as you can get, leverage whatever machine learning you can, because it can become very difficult to do this at scale without just inputting them. You've got to develop insights. And as marketers, we make the best reactions we can based off insights, not a giant data dump. And that's unfortunately where a lot of the web analytics tools are today.
Yeah, right. So now, would you want to add something to Kenneth's viewpoints?
Yeah, I think that the challenge here is tying everything together in a way that tells a real story and makes sense. There's enough data out there, but getting it all to come together in a way that you can report up, or even be able to glean the understanding for your own strategy is kind of hard. And we do it a lot through downloading a lot of information and then parsing that information. So we're using lots of different tools, including spreadsheets, including Data Studio, to pull everything together and then match it up in ways that we can't necessarily do on any one tool. So you have to kind of figure out what data you need and how it needs to be put together so that you can have a report that makes sense for you and you can take action based on those numbers.
You know, can I just chime in? And I put there, I have to be very careful because I have a biased opinion about this. I just think that, you know, and you can't do this. There's no way you can do this because everybody doesn't answer surveys. But you never get the real story behind why someone did or did not convert, did or did not take a training, did or did not click a link. So there's so much psychology behind that. That's why I didn't really want to touch that question, but
I'm so glad you said that, Cheryl, though, just really quick, if I could add on to that, is that so many people, when they think about measuring, it's measuring the sale. But Cheryl, I think you were leading on to this, is that, you know, we need to measure different aspects. And Sonia, you were talking about this, Kenneth, too, the buyer's journey of really looking at, too, why people are staying. And really, because the best judgment is actually, you know, people talking with other people, your own teams, your own current customers, your own, you know, current community, and finding out kind of what people are wanting, what they like from you, you know, taking in some of those surveys and putting that into play with maybe the data, because the data can paint a picture, but it doesn't always tell you kind of how that started, why that changed, why that moved, especially, like I said, with the growth of dark social, which is a lot different than the dark web. It's, you know, conversations more moving into the inbox that are happening more and more, where brands aren't in control of the messaging anymore. Their customers are, right? But so we need to find out what's being said, what's happening in the sentiment overall that now we're all being ranked on. And that starts with conversations, real conversations with humans. Yes, we can use some AI, but really having some team members in place to monitor, to measure, to actually do that thing and report back and make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, true. That's absolutely correct. So, all right. My next and last question, that would be for Sonia. What are the best budget planning approaches for social media campaigns?
There are so many freebie tools out there, from spreadsheets to a notepad and a pen. I think that if you are on a content team and you're planning content, the most important thing is to get everybody using some tool so that you have insight into everything. Have an editorial calendar, have some place where everybody can let everybody else know what they're working on, when it's coming out, what it's actually going to be when it's finished. In our office, we use Trello for that, the free version of Trello, but there are so many different options out there. There's Airtable, there's spreadsheets, there's all kinds of things that you can try out. There's Slack, but we're using Trello for it. So make an editorial calendar. I think that's my one big freebie takeaway.
Yeah, right. So I am actually bounded with time, and I'll have to end this panel discussion like immediately now. Also, my internet is like really fluctuating here. So, all right, this brings us into this wonderful session with our amazing panelists. Thank you so much, each one of you, for being a part of this. I really enjoyed this, and I'm probably playing this on a repeat to understand and clear things in my own head. How to go about measuring social media success. This was indeed a value-packed session, and I hope everyone enjoyed this event. All right, guys, so this is not where it ends. We have a lot more events lined up in the coming days. So if you guys are interested and haven't registered yet, there are links in the chat section which you can check them out. It's Designhill events page. And also, if you want to see previous events videos, you can check out our YouTube channel. Yeah, and that's all. Everyone just take care. And on that note, I would like to say a bye to everyone here. Bye-bye. Have a great time and take care, everyone. Be safe. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Audience, thanks. Great panel.